Picture this. You're at a dinner party and someone casually mentions they have a negative net worth. Everyone laughs nervously, but here's the thing. Over 8% of American households have a negative net worth. That means their debts are bigger than everything they own combined. But what nobody tells you is there are specific dollar amounts that completely transform how money works in your life. Not gradually, suddenly, like flipping a switch. There's something wild that happens at certain net worth milestones that fundamentally changes your relationship with money, your stress levels, and even how people treat you. And I'm not talking about becoming a millionaire. I'm talking about way before that. Numbers that are actually achievable if you know what you're aiming for. I'm an accountant who spends an embarrassing amount of time analyzing people's finances, and here I share financial insights that actually move the needle for regular people. If you've ever felt like you're working hard but money still controls every decision you make, and you want to understand exactly when that changes, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button if this helps you see money differently. Now, before we break down these 5 specific milestones, let me tell you what most financial advice completely misses. Everyone talks about becoming a millionaire like it's this binary switch. You're either broke or you're rich, but that's not how wealth actually works. Wealth works in stages, and each stage unlocks a completely different set of possibilities. And more importantly, each stage fundamentally rewires how your brain processes financial decisions. Think about it like this. When you have absolutely nothing saved, every unexpected expense feels like a crisis. Your car needs new brakes? That's a full-blown panic attack. Your phone screen cracks? You're doing mental gymnastics to figure out if you can survive with a cracked screen for 6 more months. You're playing financial whack-a-mole, and you're losing. But here's what actually happens when you cross certain thresholds. And I'm going to give you the exact numbers, because vague advice is useless. The first milestone is $2,000 in liquid savings. Not invested, not locked away in a retirement account, just sitting there in a savings account where you can grab it immediately. Here's why this specific number matters. According to a Bankrate survey, 56% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency expense from their savings. Let me say that again. More than half of the country would need to borrow money or put an unexpected expense on a credit card. So when you hit $2,000, you're already doing better than most people. But here's where it gets really interesting. $2,000 is enough to cover almost any single emergency that life throws at you. Not a catastrophic emergency, but the normal chaos of being alive. Your dog eats something expensive and needs emergency surgery. You know, Tuesday. Your laptop dies right before a big work presentation. Your kid needs a school trip deposit. Your water heater starts making that sound. When you have $2,000 saved, something shifts in your nervous system. You stop bracing for impact every single day. You're still living paycheck to paycheck, technically, but you've built this tiny buffer between you and financial catastrophe, and your brain registers this change immediately. Studies on financial stress show that having even a small emergency fund creates a measurable decrease in cortisol levels. You sleep better. You make better decisions at work. You stop avoiding checking your bank account. But here's the kicker. This first milestone is also the hardest one to reach, not because of the math, because of the psychology. When you have nothing saved, every dollar you put away feels painful. Your brain screams at you to spend it on something that makes you feel better right now. This is where most people mess this up. They hit $500 saved and reward themselves with a purchase that wipes it out. Then they start over. The cycle never ends. You have to fight through this barrier without blowing your progress on reward purchases. The second milestone changes everything about how you show up at work, and that number is $25,000 in net worth. Now, you might be thinking, $25,000 sounds impossible if you can barely save $100 a month. Stick with me here because this milestone isn't just about the dollar amount. It's about what happens to your behavior when you have what I call walking away money. Let me paint you a picture. You're in a meeting with your boss. They're demanding you work this weekend, again, and you have to decide, do I push back or do I just say yes? When you have zero net worth, you say yes, every time. You need this job, you need this paycheck, you're trapped, and your boss can sense it. The desperation makes you weak in negotiations. But when you have $25,000 in net worth, something remarkable happens. You could survive for maybe 4 or 5 months if you absolutely had to, and that knowledge changes how you carry yourself. You negotiate your salary more aggressively. You push back when someone crosses a boundary. You take calculated risks because the worst case scenario isn't actually that bad anymore. I struggled with this until I hit my first $30,000 saved, and the shift was undeniable. Suddenly, I wasn't just grateful to have a job. I was evaluating whether the job deserved me. That's not arrogance. That's what happens when you move from survival mode to opportunity mode. Here's what most people don't realize. Your net worth doesn't just change your financial reality. It changes your identity. Someone with $25,000 in net worth thinks differently than someone with zero. They walk differently into salary negotiations. They evaluate job offers differently. They don't stay in toxic work environments as long. And here's a number that backs this up. A study by the Federal Reserve found that people with at least 6 months of emergency expenses saved are 60% more likely to leave a job that makes them miserable because they can afford to bet on themselves. Now, before you start thinking this is all about quitting your job, let me be clear. The point isn't to quit. The point is that having the option to quit makes you better at your current job. You're calmer, more confident. You take strategic risks instead of playing defense all day. And that's exactly what gets you promoted and makes you more money. The third milestone is where compound interest stops being theoretical and starts feeling real. And that number is $100,000 in invested assets. Charlie Munger famously said, "The first $100,000 is let me just say it's really hard to get." And he's right, but not for the reason most people think. It's not hard because of the math. It's hard because you can't see it working yet. When you have $10,000 invested and the market goes up 10%, you make $1,000. Nice, but not life-changing. When you have $50,000 invested, a 10% return gives you $5,000. That's starting to feel meaningful. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you have $100,000 invested and the market returns 10%, you just made $10,000. Without working, while you were sleeping, your money made more than many people save in an entire year. This is when wealth stops feeling like addition and starts feeling like multiplication. Your brain finally gets it. This is how rich people do it. Their money is working. Let me show you exactly how this works. If you invest $500 a month with an average 8% annual return, it takes you about 11 years to hit $100,000. 11 years. That's a long time. But here's what will blow your mind. After you hit that first $100,000, it only takes about 7 more years to hit $200,000 with the same monthly investment. Then just 5 years to hit $300,000. The boulder is rolling downhill now. Every dollar you add has more friends helping it grow. You're not pushing anymore, you're steering. But here's the part that will probably surprise you. The psychological shift at $100,000 is almost more important than the mathematical one, because this is when you start thinking in terms of opportunity cost. Every purchase becomes a question of what else that money could become. You see a $40,000 car on the lot, and your brain doesn't just think, "Can I afford the monthly payment?" You start thinking, If I invest that $40,000 instead, and it grows at 8% for 20 years, that's $186,000. Am I really trading $186,000 of future wealth for this car? This is where most people mess this up, and I'm going to grab you by the shoulders here. When you hit $100,000, there's this overwhelming urge to celebrate with a big purchase. You've been disciplined for so long. You deserve something nice, right? And that's exactly when people blow their momentum. I've watched people hit $100,000 and then immediately finance a luxury car they can't actually afford, or renovate their kitchen with money they should be investing, or take a $15,000 vacation because they've earned it. And look, I'm not saying never enjoy your money, but timing matters. Wait until you hit $200,000, then celebrate with the first $100,000 gains. Let your milestone achievements come from money your money made, not from pausing your progress. The fourth milestone is where you stop being middle class and start being actually wealthy. And that number is $500,000 in net worth. Now, I know what you're thinking. $500,000 doesn't sound like actual wealth anymore. And you're right that it won't buy you a mansion in San Francisco. But here's the thing. At $500,000 in net worth, something extraordinary happens to your financial anxiety. It almost completely disappears. Let me explain why. If you have $500,000 invested and follow the 4% safe withdrawal rule, you could pull out $20,000 per year without running out of money. That's not enough to live on for most people, but think about what that means. Your investments cover your car payment, groceries, utilities, and insurance. The basics of survival are handled. Everything you earn from working is now extra. It's for living, not surviving. This is when work becomes optional. Not tomorrow, but you can see the finish line. Want to become a freelance whatever? You can. Your investments cover your baseline expenses. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people who hit $500,000 in net worth don't quit working. Because here's what actually happens. When work becomes optional, you start enjoying it more. The pressure evaporates. You take projects you're actually interested in. You say no to the stuff that makes you miserable. You optimize for fulfillment instead of just money. And this is something that will probably surprise you. People with $500,000 in net worth often make more money from their careers than they did before. Not because they're working harder, because they're working smarter. They're only doing high-value work. They're negotiating from strength. There's research from Daniel Kahneman showing that financial security doesn't just reduce stress, it increases cognitive function. When you're not worried about money, you have more mental bandwidth for creative thinking and problem solving. You literally become smarter when you're not stressed about bills. The fifth and final milestone is the one that puts you in a different social class, and that number is $1 million in net worth. Being a millionaire used to mean something different than it does today. Inflation has chipped away at the impact, but here's what hasn't changed. Having 7 figures in net worth fundamentally alters how society treats you. Banks treat you differently. Investment firms that wouldn't take your calls before suddenly have private advisors eager to help. You get access to investment opportunities that regular people don't even know exist. With $1 million invested conservatively, you're looking at $40,000 per year in sustainable withdrawals. Combined with Social Security and retirement, that's a comfortable middle-class lifestyle without ever working again. You're financially independent, actually truly independent. But here's what most people completely miss about the millionaire milestone. It's not about the yacht or the sports car or whatever Instagram tells you wealth looks like. It's about time. It's about freedom. It's about looking at your calendar and realizing you control every hour of your day. You know what $1 million really buys you? The ability to hang out with your kids on a random Tuesday afternoon. The ability to help your aging parents without it destroying your finances. The ability to pursue that weird passion project that makes zero financial sense. The ability to be generous without calculating whether you can afford it. When you have $1 million in net worth, you stop making decisions based on money and start making them based on meaning. And that's the ultimate form of wealth. Now, you might be thinking these numbers are impossible, especially if you're starting from zero, or worse, negative net worth because of student loans or credit card debt. But here's the thing. Every single person who's hit these milestones started exactly where you are now, looking at the numbers and thinking they're impossible. The math is actually straightforward. If you can save and invest $1,000 per month with an 8% average annual return, you'll hit $100,000 in about 6 years. You'll hit $500,000 in about 20 years. You'll hit $1 million in about 28 years. Is 28 years a long time? Yeah, but it's going to pass anyway. The question is whether you'll arrive at the other end with $1 million or with nothing. And here's the kicker. These timelines assume you're starting from zero and never increasing your contributions. But in real life, most people start earning more as their career progresses. They get raises, they switch jobs for higher pay, they start side hustles. Every extra dollar you add accelerates the timeline. Your first milestone isn't about becoming rich. It's about becoming the type of person who saves $2,000 even when it's uncomfortable, because that person is the same person who eventually saves $25,000 and $100,000 and beyond. Start building that foundation today, because your future self is counting on the decision you make right now. The milestones aren't just numbers in a bank account. They're chapters in your life story. Each one unlocks a new version of who you can become. Trust me, they'll thank you for it.